Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. The weekend is almost there. It's in sight. So I'm looking forward to today's masterclass. Today, we're going to show you how to both create and somewhat run a Colossi type of battle or encounter map. I am much better as a cartographer than I am as a DM, so I'll just kind of give you some ideas on how to operate it as a map because I know that it's not a token itself, the creature that you're creating. It's something that your players will be walking on top of, maneuvering. So we'll be covering all of that stuff. We went ahead and did a poll on YouTube, and it looks like our viewers wanted to do a Sky Colossus. And so that's what we're going to be working on. It was basically this one right here. Now, we're not going to recreate this one exactly. I actually prefer to make something a little bit different, but I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks on how to kind of make these, because I think the hardest part for me is just getting started on like what kind of creature should I be making and the theme and all of that stuff. And so I'll show you a really cool trick on how to assemble a concept without getting too overwhelmed, because I think that is the hardest part in my opinion. So let's go ahead and the first thing that I'll do is, since we've decided the theme, which is a Sky Colossus, there's a second theme that we might want to add. Like, is it like a crystal dragon? Is it some kind of griffin? Or is it some kind of fey creature? So we have to decide on that theme. But once you've kind of got that first part, which is like the flying part, that kind of gives us an idea of what kind of aspect ratio to use. You'll see that I have a lot of colossi here, a couple of them. For instance, if you're making this long snake-like water creature, then you're probably going to want a longer aspect ratio, whether it's vertically or horizontally, so that way the whole creature is in the screen. Or same thing here with this earth one. It's longer, kind of like a dinosaur, and so you want that longer aspect ratio so you can kind of catch that. If you were, instance, making something like the bird one, the flying one, then maybe you want a longer one horizontally so you can fit in the wingspan. Maybe it's like a giant flying serpent, then you might want it longer going horizontally. So the aspect ratio you should choose is really determined on what kind of creature you're making. And since we've already established flying, and there's probably going to be wings involved, maybe horizontally might be a good way to go. We could always resize it too as we go, but to do less resizing and all that stuff, it's good to start with an aspect ratio that works well with what you're trying to create. So I'll go ahead and create a new map. And what I'll do for now is I'll start with fantasy battle maps. I'm going to go Ultra 4K, and I'm going to go with custom. And now the regular landscape is 40 by 30 tiles. So what I might want to do instead is change it to where it's maybe 60. So that way it's quite wide across. We'll open that up. And then I'll quickly just save it and rename it. Let this load, and you can see how wide it is. So now we have lots and lots of room here for our creature. So if it's going to be a massive wingspan, we'll have that, and we can always just readjust again. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to quickly save it and just call it Sky Colossus. Oops, my mistake. There we go. Let that save. I usually do an initial save so that way at least I have it. And then after that saves, then we'll start piecing together the concept. And this is the part that I feel is kind of the hardest part, because you're like, well, what should I create, what not? And I find what's the most helpful is to use silhouettes. So if you just take whatever stamp that you put down, what I'll do is I'll just make it completely black. And then that way I can start stacking together these black stamps and then make this silhouette of a creature without being overwhelmed with what color should it be, what materials, should this part of the wing be darker or brighter, what's the color scheme, what's the, all of that stuff. Making the silhouette first is very, very helpful. I do that for a lot of things, even making a monster token or spaceships. Having a silhouette is very helpful. Hey, Pedro, we're making a flying Colossus today. So what I'll do is I'm just going to choose a goose. For now, this is the same way I made that first one. And you'll see that we have some revised stuff that's coming out with 2.0, which I'm really excited about. I don't want to hype it up too much since we have been. So, but I'm excited about that. Hopefully before the end of this summer. I can't say for certain, but I know you're probably all getting very tired of hearing that. Okay, so I'm going to use this goose right here. I'm going to go to the advanced settings, and I'm just going to bring the brightness all the way to black, just like this. So brightness all the way to 0. And then I can start stacking things on top of this also with blackened stamps to give myself kind of something to work with there. So I can take this piece here and I can adjust it to, maybe I want the width to be a bit wider. Let me put that in the center of the screen so you can see it. So I can get that to be a little bit wider like this. And then I'll push this up here. I maybe want some room to have, I can either have, yes, Shadow of the Colossus. Absolutely. I love that game. I definitely got inspired by that game to make this, to make these, though I'm not trying to rip from them or anything. But I definitely got my inspiration from them. And I really like making these. These are kind of fun. And maybe they'll be useful to you when you decide to have an encounter like this. And then so on top of this, I can start stacking things. So for instance, maybe I want it to have 2 sets of wings. So I can always put one like this on top of each other like this. And already I have 2 sets of wings that flap out of sync with each other. Or maybe I want to flip it the other way like this. And maybe it's got 2 wingspans this way. Or maybe I just want to make it bigger and then just have it make it look a lot wider like this. I can do that too, right? So there's a lot of different options you can go with. I think I'm not going to do what I did last time, which was have the double gooses kind of stacked on top of each other. Instead, I'll go with like a very different design. So I'm also going to maybe add in some flourishings, like maybe there's like these tails that are on each side, like a stingray of some kind. I'll give you an example. I think we can use a bowsprit, I think is what it's called. Let me check here. Let's try, oh, does that make it pop up? Let me try ship. Should pop up there. Let's see here. There it is right there. Oh, bowsprits, my bad. And then I think I'll just take the smallest one like this. I think this is the smallest one. And I'll bring that brightness all the way down. And then I can kind of place them kind of like this. So it kind of looks like there's like these tendrils that are kind of growing on top of its wing. Maybe I want to put like some kind of ball at the end of it or something. Maybe like, let's say some coral of some kind might work good. For instance, this one right here might look good. Kind of place that on the end, even maybe like right here, and then maybe one on the end. We'll go ahead and turn the shadow off, bring the brightness all the way down. Just place one there, and then place the other one right here. I'll even rotate it so it's not exactly the same. And I don't even kind of like that we can even maybe like rotate them just a little bit. Like this, there we go. So they're kind of going out a little bit. I want them to be perfectly straight. Like this, and then since I'm kind of running out of room, I'll just go ahead and scale it down. Now that I kind of got it around the size I want, I can break it a little bit smaller so I have room to work with it. And maybe I want these to be a little bit wider, so I can go to transform, change the width, just get them to be a bit wider there. Make sure that they're kind of set up in the right place. Right about there, I think, is the right place. And then this one right about there. There we go. So that looks good. I think that looks okay to me. All right, maybe we want to add some kind of tail of some kind. There's a couple ways that I go about tails. You could use like a shell for a tail, like one of these right here, like this. And then just, again, go to the color, bring the brightness all the way down. And so what's the great about this part is that you don't have to worry about a color scheme or any of that stuff. You're just trying to put together the general concept. And then once you've finished putting all the concepts together, all the pieces together, then you can either put something on top of it. You can actually bring the brightness all the way back to 100% and then mess with the color settings to get things to work right. Or you can just start stacking stamps on top of it. So there's a lot of different ways. If you don't like the wing, if you don't like that, then you can change it to other things. Like maybe instead I want to use something like, I think there's a mask in jungle, like right here. You could also use this piece right here. This might work. Go ahead and turn this off, go to brightness. You could go do it like this and then put on swings like this. We could transform it a little bit to where it's got a little bit more height and a little bit more width. So it's kind of set up like that. Or there's a lot of different things you can do, right? And that's, honestly, that's like one of the best parts about it, is that you can do it many different ways. Like, let's say that I wanted to stick with maybe I want to use 2 of these shell pieces right here. Put these apart like this, copy, paste. And everything looks cool in the silhouette part, right? Because there's not any depth or anything going on. So maybe I want to do something kind of more like this, where I have like, where it looks something more like that. I could even take those same pieces and maybe I want to have them like right here, like this, just kind of forming this nice fuzzy part right here. I can do that. So you're starting to get the general concept on how it kind of works. You just start stacking stamps on, start filling it out, and start kind of creating the general concept. So I'll just keep going through it, adding things to it. Like I want to add like maybe a head of some kind. I think we could use like maybe a dragon head would be fine. If you look up dragon, you could use like maybe this one. There's probably a bunch of them we could use. There's a bunch here. There's this one right here that might work. This one looks okay. I could use that. Let's just go ahead and bring it all the way down. Brightness. Maybe I want to bring the head this way. Bring it on top like that. Or maybe I want it to have a long, long neck. I can do it that way. Maybe I want it to have multiple heads. Something kind of like this. Could do that. And that could actually make the combat a little bit more interesting. Like one of the heads turns around and actually does like some kind of attack or something. Hopefully it doesn't injure themselves, but I generally don't have the creature be something that you fight like it would just be a token. But it's such a massive creature, it's a Colossus, that no token kind of does it any justice. So the way that I go about doing this is I usually have like a boss that's on top of the bird. So the bird is like a giant mount. It's actually an encounter. And then your players will do combat with the rider, which is usually a boss of some kind. And then I'll usually, like, because if you end up damaging or trying to injure the bird, it's what you're on top of. So you could end up killing yourself by trying to fight the bird. So I don't generally have any fighting going on with the creature that I'm on top of. Generally, I have like maybe a boss and some minions and we're running around on top of it. Maybe there's some segments in the combat where players have to do athletic rolls, do rolls for agility of some kind to see if they can hold on when maybe the bird does a spin or something like that. So, I mean, it really just depends. Again, I don't normally have the creature engaged in combat with you. I normally just put a monster on top. So you could do, 3 heads. You could do 1 head. Like maybe we want to go with, here, maybe you like this one better. Put this one on top like this. You could do that. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can kind of go about deciding how you want to do it. Like maybe I want to do it like this. Maybe I want it to be longer. Maybe I want it to be up close like this. Maybe I can even make it look like it's got a long kind of neck with a long sharp beak like that. If I want to look like this. So many different ways that you can kind of put this together, right? And so there's so many options. Now, I think I like this one the best. I kind of like the jagged, like spiky parts that kind of jagged go out like that. I think that adds well. I think there's some other things that I might want to add to it first before we start adding some stuff on top of it. Like maybe I want to fill it out a little bit more. I feel like it's a little on the smaller side. So maybe I can make the wingspan a little bit wider by just going up like this, and then I can kind of move that upward. There we go. The wingspan seemed really, really thin. I kind of want a wider wingspan so that way my players actually have something to have more wingspan to walk across. I don't want when I'm putting this together, I don't want my players to be, every move is going to be certain death. I don't want it to be an impossible task. So making the wings wider makes a less chance of players falling off. They can stay huddled closer into the middle of the wing where they can't fall off or anything like that. So I generally try to make the wings a little bit wider there. I think so far this is looking good. We can also add a couple other things if we want. Like, I think there's some metal shards, I think, in steampunk. Let me look up steampunk. I'm pretty familiar what's within the catalog because I make a decent amount of mats, so that's why I'm so familiar with it. This piece of metal right here has this like feather like feel to it, and it has like a sharp, jagged edge, and I kind of like that. So if I just bring that brightness down all the way, it's going to give it this more sharper, kind of jagged edge. I'll bring it up a little bit, and then I can just copy and paste these. And I kind of like this more jagged feel to it. In fact, I can have one maybe be even longer, like have them be like varying sizes to give it a more interesting kind of look to it. Like maybe we could put one right here, copy paste, and then maybe let's see here. Let's see, maybe one more going. Maybe let's actually flip it like this, and maybe we can put one. I kind of like that. That looks good. Okay, now I can grab all of them. Make sure I have all of them. I do. Great. Right about there. Good. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to create a group. That will allow me to flip it, and then I can just move it over to here, and then I'll ungroup. There we go. And then I can go ahead and put, oh, actually, I kind of like the way that it does that with a little bit of feathers going out. I kind of like that. Let's do that. Right about something right about there. That looks okay. What about there? There we go. Okay, now it's definitely coming together. You know, what's really reminding me of is the divine beasts from the Zelda games. That's what it's kind of reminding me of a little bit. But I think the overall like shape and design of it looks good. I'm not sure about the tail. I might consider flipping them like this, and then maybe I can just flip the whole thing, and then I have like this kind of interesting kind of tail going like that. Yeah, I like that much better. There we go. Okay, so it's kind of coming together. Yeah, it definitely, I love that game too. So, and all my inspiration comes from the world around me. So, from the Zelda games to the Colossus game, definitely there's inspiration all around you. So, definitely just don't steal the idea directly. Obviously, what you should do is just try to make it your own, come up with a cooler concept, make it better than the original. And you can do that. You can. Absolutely. Like, that's the beautiful thing. You can take something that was great and make it better. So, all right. So, I think we're almost close to done with the design. I think I might want to add a couple more things. Like, I like to add in tusks. I find that these tusks act as like a spikes. They work really well. Like maybe I'm going to put some lined on the back. And the reason why I might want to do that is because it's something players can hold on to during difficult segments of the combat. It's something that players can use to hide behind if an enemy attack comes. That's why I like to add things on the back. And you can also do contrasting things like, because this creature is an organic creature, you can do what Shadow of the Colossus did, which is add a non-organic, a human-made structure or a creature-made structure that's on top of it. It's so big. I think that's kind of the point of the Divine Beast concept, is that the creature is so massive that you can have actual structures on top of the body. So you could put like ruins, or maybe there's like some kind of temple on the top of the creature, whatever it might be. I'm not going to go with like a massive complex like some of the divine beasts from Zelda, but maybe something more similar to like Shadow of the Colossus, where they're still massive, but not massive enough to have an actual, complex on top of it. That's quite large, and that would take way longer than an hour to make. So I'll go ahead and just apply these. And what's really cool about the silhouette thing is that I can apply these like anywhere that I want. So I can maybe add more to this part of the wing here by adding in some kind of like spike right here. This kind of gives it a little more of an interesting kind of feel to it by adding that. Maybe I want to add in another spike in somewhere. Maybe this curved one would look good. Maybe like I'm not sure, maybe there or right here would look better. Why don't we try both? Let's try both ideas and see what they look like. Okay. I actually am okay with this design right here. I kind of like that. And then we'll put some spikes on top of it for later. But let's just take a look overall at the over the concept and design. I think I overall like the idea. Okay, absolutely. Okay, I think we're almost done here with the concept. I think we can call it good. Maybe I'll add a little bit of maybe a little bit of fur on the neck part would be a good idea, like right here. And just kind of what I'll do is I'll just place it like this, and then I'll just stretch it a little bit. And then that way I can get some of the fur, kind of this fur effect, like right there. Okay, there we go. All right, I think this is okay for now. We're going to go ahead and create, and we're just going to call it the base, because this is what you're going to work on top of. Now, this alone took about 20 minutes, but you get the general concept. Now, from here, there's all kinds of decisions that you need to make, right? Maybe you just like the black inky silhouette and you just want to throw on some, I don't know, some kind of contrasting white bones on top of it. Maybe it's an ink demon or an ink summon that your boss, a wizard, brought into the world. And so maybe you just need to throw on just some white tusks, some white bones, a white structure, maybe a white skull for the head, and maybe some other little white things on top of it. And then you're done, right? Or you want to go with something much more more colorful, that has a little bit more going on. Then you want to start stacking stamps on top of it, right? First, what I'll do is I'll open it up and I want to show you what all the stamps look like with all the color. So I bring the brightness up, you put it together, and here you have this cacophony of of stamps kind of put together to kind of give you an idea. Already it looks kind of crazy. You can also just bring the saturation down all the way and you can kind of see how it works here. We have a first-time chatter. Hey, Lord Gwyn. Glad that you're here. We're doing a masterclass on how to make Colossi. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, I like the overall concept here, but I mean, I could play with things to make it work better. Like I could take all of these spikes and just leave them here. I could take them and I'll put them down. I mean, there's so many options. Like this right here already looks okay. There's a lot to it that would need to change, but I think overall it looks okay. Of course, once I start adding all that color right back to it, right? So this is like a concept, right? Concept sketches generally don't have any color. It's just this gray. So what I'll do first is I'll go through I'll let this go over an hour if necessary. But what I'll do first is I'll show you the first concept, which is the easiest one, and then we'll go through different difficulties. So the first and the easiest part is just to use the silhouette itself as the body, and then I can just start placing stuff on top of it. For instance, I can bring the brightness up on this right here, and then I already have a skull right here. Maybe I want to bring the brightness up so that it pops out, right? Bright. Remember, contrast is how you make things pop out. So I can just place that right on top like that. Maybe I want to add some kind of structure on top of it. So I could always use the shape tool, and maybe I want to put some kind of ruin on top, so I could do that too. Or maybe I just want to throw on the tusks first so that there's some bones, and then we'll make a structure on top of that. So I could take this, make it white like this, and then I could add in some tusks, and then maybe even make them varied. Like maybe I want, since I'm pretending to be this is some kind of ink demon summon, I can have all the spikes be a little bit different. Maybe I can put, if I put a spike here, then the wing won't be able to flap right unless the spike is way high up. So what I could do is maybe have it being this way, a little bit further away. Or I can go with a different spike, like something like this, and go like that. It's up to you. Right, we can flip this around real quick. Like this. And then these are the spikes that your players can walk around on top of, so that way they have something to hold on to. If you don't like the spike idea protruding out, then just use them as perhaps some kind of bone. So you could go like this, have them be like this, copy and paste, and then have it follow the contour of the body. So it looks like there's some kind of cage of bones that goes across. Maybe the body widens a little bit, so I'll go across like this, and then I'll just copy and paste and do it again. And that way, and then what I can do also is just make these just a little bit smaller than the ones in the center, like this. So maybe that equals the cage, like the bones on the back of it, like that. You can walk on top of that. Maybe the bone is a slick material, so you can do that. Lots of different ways that you can go about doing this. Maybe I want to have that bone extend maybe a little bit further out. Let's bring the silhouette all the way down to -5 so that way I don't accidentally put something beneath it. Maybe I want to put the spikes kind of like this. Let's see here. One maybe kind of going like this. One like this, and then one going like this. Something like this. Let's see here. How would I go about doing it? Maybe something kind of like, let's see, maybe something like that. I could do that. So there's a lot of different things that you can kind of do. I'm not going to go with that. But you get the general idea, right? You're just making the general bones of the creature. And in that way you have a very simple, like, ink summon demon-like thing that you can now fight your boss on top of, right? Now that's super easy. So, and I think all of you can kind of figure that out. This is a masterclass. So why don't we do something a little bit more complex than going with the easy route? Otherwise it wouldn't be a masterclass, right? So I'll quickly save, and then we'll go on how is it that I approach things like, how do I add fur? How do I add scales if it's like a dragon creature? How is it that I decide what kind of material to use, right? All these different things. So first, I'm going to have my silhouette here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lock it. Or if you want to use the original stamps, you can do that. Let's do that, actually. That way we don't have to place double stamps on top and making the map have more assets. So what I'll do is I'll ungroup this, and then I'll select everything, and then we'll go back to here like this. And now I can kind of work with all the various stamps that I have here and try to make them blend together without them falling apart, right? So first, I might want to decide some kind of color scheme that I want for it. Like, let's say that it's a Fey dragon. I think that's cool, right? A Fey dragon. That means we can play with all these crazy, goofy amount of colors, right? Because Fey is very, very colorful. Can you flatten the stamp? I mean, I wouldn't personally flatten the stamp, because then you don't have the ability to move it around once it's been flattened, and you might want to do adjusting. I like to move it around. But you can, though, eventually turn it into like your own custom asset eventually. I'm looking for that with 2.0. So if we're going to go with Fey, then what I might want to do is turn all the color on. And what I'll do is I'll bump the color up all the way to the highest saturation. And that way I can really see the colors that I'm working with. What I should do is just play around like this, and then I can go ahead and pick an overall color. Yeah, we'll talk about fur. I'll show you how to do that. And then maybe we can bump the contrast up, because there's already some hard... Oh, you know what? I like bringing the contrast down a little bit. That should diminish some of those big... Because one thing that happens with upsizing or upscaling a really, really big, a really small stamp to larger than the 500% or so is that you start to see these really thick black line work. And the way that you can kind of diminish that is just drop the contrast, so it's more of a grayish instead. So that's very, very helpful. So I'll bring the contrast down a little bit so that way those pieces aren't kind of getting in the way, right? So a couple things. What I use for fur is hay. And I do the same thing with my monster tokens. I use hay. It's the best stuff because it already has like these white hair-like fall. Like hay is already hair-like, right? So it's a perfect stamp for that. So if I just go ahead and select this and then just change the hue to that purplish color that I want, and then what I do from there is I'll go ahead and adjust it with this transform, make sure that it's 100%, and now I have this kind of fur-like color. I can even bump the contrast up a little bit, and then maybe even change the hue to get the more darker purple. So this is how I get fur, right? So that would be my approach. So for instance, I want to put some fur on top of this creature right here. This is how I would do it. I would put it right on top, just like that. And then to hide a little bit of this, I would just kind of put these spikes underneath that fur, just like that. And if you still like this piece, you can still add that. Just change the hue to get to that purple that you had, and then just kind of put it right underneath like that. And I can do the same thing. I can copy and paste and maybe put another one. Let's put this up a layer, one like this. And then we'll put this one up another one like this. And then you kind of have this nice color. Now, I'm not going to go with pure purple. I'll probably change the color of things to be a bunch of varying colors, but you're getting the idea. This could be like, this piece right here is, I don't know if you've seen, like, I don't know the terminology. If anybody knows anything about birds, um, you know, the vulture kind of has that interesting tuft around its neck. This is kind of what it reminds me of right here. This kind of piece right here reminds me of that. So that works kind of well. So I'll put that there, put this one here. And then I'll have to adjust some of this wing right here. Let's actually put them together, like have them separate a little bit. That actually might make it look more interesting. We'll separate like that. I think that looks good. This piece, these two right here can go down underneath, I think would work better. And since they're further down on the wing, what I can do is just bring the brightness down on them. I think that looks good. That one goes there, that one goes there. Some cool tricks, like maybe you want to have some of that tuft showing on top. You don't like the transition of that hay underneath of that ruff. Ruff is, that's what it's called. Awesome, thank you. Cool trick. Let's say that I want some of that ruff right there to show up maybe a little bit on top of that back fur. I can just go up a layer, go to normal blend mode, and then switch to lighten. And then if I just go right on top, just overlay right on top of it like this, you can get some of that tuft right on top of that ruff, right on top of the hay as well. I actually kind of like it down underneath, or maybe I don't want it to line up properly, so I can always just bring it back down. Let's go ahead and take this one, bring this back down here. Ooh, right about there, I think it was. And then I can just make this one a little bit smaller, like this. And I can still have a little bit of that ruff there. So it's up to you. The light and blend mode is your friend, and it's very helpful. Like maybe I want to add a little bit more of that kind of tendril kind of feel to it. I want to add more to it like this. I just go and copy, paste, and the light and blend mode will still pick up whatever is beneath it as well. So kind of a nice trick. I don't know if that works so well with the hay, but it certainly works well with that coral. So I think you guys are getting the idea. I can also use it to kind of like hide things. Like maybe I want to use these right here. Because one thing you'll notice is that these things right here, they look like they're not a part of the body. So what I should do is kind of move them around a little bit to where they kind of match in with the line work. Like right there, it lines with the line work. Right there, it kind of lines with the line work. That works good. There we go. Now they're not so separate from each other. Let's do that one goes there. Let me take a look at this side. Yeah, that looks good. And then this one can go in, and this one can go right about there. There we go. Okay. That looks about right. Might want to keep this piece right here, and then I can put it right on top of the shell. There we go. That looks good. All right, looking good so far. Let's go ahead and push. Let's go ahead and take one of these things and put them like right here, like this. Let's bring the saturation down a little bit. Bring the contrast down so it kind of matches underneath a little bit. Copy, paste. And then I'll go ahead and take these tusks and then just put them right on top like this. So it looks like they're coming out, sprouting out like that. We'll bring them in a little bit more. No, actually, that looks fine like that. That looks good. There we go. So it's kind of coming together. That looks better. Let's go ahead and take these. These look a little off to me. Let's bring them up a layer. But we're going to have to push all this up a layer too. There we go. Much better. Let's go ahead and bring the contrast up. Bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. Let's do one right about there. I just want to hide the hide that. There we go. You know what we could do is add maybe some tusks to the front as well, or maybe we want to have like a strange, like sharp, long beak in the front, something kind of like that. Or if you just like where the dragon is, you can just leave it where it is. Or if we want to add maybe some tusks like underneath of it, something kind of like this. So if I go down a layer, put it underneath, let's bring the brightness down. That way we're using contrast to make it look like it's lower. And then I can just copy and paste, flip, and then just kind of place it right like that. Or maybe I want it to be facing the other way, like going like this instead, like that. I think that I like that a little bit better because then it adds a little bit more width to the head. I think that acts a little bit more interesting. We can also make it just a little bit, make them a little bit bigger so that way we can get some extra width there. Let's add in a couple more things to give this a little bit more of a wider kind of feel. Seems aerodynamic. Yeah, well, we're hoping that it's aerodynamic. We don't know for sure if it will be. All right, let's add in a couple more. I do like that head. I kind of feel like there should be a little bit more to it. I'm not sure. Just to give it so, like, if you are on top of the head and because it is a smaller space, just in case your players don't fall down, they have something that they can kind of hold on to when they fall down. So I think this might be a good idea. Let's maybe make these a little bit thinner. There we go. That way they're not super heavy on the neck, and I'll just kind of line them up right about there. And I think, I'm not sure. I kind of like the way that it went like that. I don't know. I think I'm okay with that for now. That'll be all right. All right. Let's go ahead. And we can bring the scale up a little bit more. There we go. Looks good. 96 changes. Let's quickly save it. And then we'll go ahead and continue adding a little bit more to it. I think overall, I'm liking the design. I'll probably end up changing colors of things because all purple, I mean, I guess that would work as a Fey dragon or a Fey creature of some kind, but I kind of want to make it a little bit more colorful. I think that would make it a little bit more interesting. That's just me. You know what we could do is we could put the spikes on top of the back because the back seems really flat. Look at the way that that hair on the back, it seems really flat to me. So what we'll do is we'll put some spikes on the top like we did before. I think that would be kind of nice. Yeah, it is a little monochromatic. I agree. We're definitely going to end up changing colors. But the beautiful thing is that you don't have to do that until later. For now, you just have to get the design right, and then we'll change it up. Yes, I think green works really well with purple. Blue should work with purple because purple's made with red and blue. So blue should work. I think yellow also works with purple. So we could go with yellow. I think red will also work because, so red, blue, yellow, all of those colors should work. And I think green also works pretty good. So maybe I just said that. But we'll probably end up using those colors. Good thinking, by the way. So let's go ahead and just put like some spikes on the back like this. I don't want them to be too big, again, because the wingspan needs to be able to go up and down. So unless this is like really high up on the back, which I think we'll end up doing. So we'll have some spikes there, and then we'll add another one right here, just in the center like that. I think that'll do good. And then that way your players will be able to grab onto the spikes as they're walking to get to where maybe the creature is mounted on the head of the creature. So maybe we'll put a chair and some kind of mount on top of that. Yeah, all of those colors sound great, Tang Whistle. I mean, all of them, because again, purple just works with so many colors, right? So we'll probably definitely go with those. All right, I think I'm going to take a look at it real quick. Let's go ahead and make a background real quick. And what I'll do is I'll go with just like maybe an ocean color. Now, here's the thing. When you do add a color to the background, it might change the feel a little bit of the creature. So just know that. Let's go ahead and choose maybe this water jungle one. Let's fill into the BG like this. I think that color works well with that. And it also has some blur and I think that works well. If you do pick another water texture, I would recommend turning the blur on. Even if you decide to add stuff on the land, like if you decide to make some land underneath it, let me give you an example. So if I go with that add mode, and I'm just going to turn the mask effects on, I'm just going to go ahead and create some land, so that way there's some contrast for a background. So you see there's some land here. We'll make some contrast. There we go. And remember, the focus is not on the land underneath. The focus is on the creature. So I'm just adding in a little bit of land so that way there's some contrast. There we go. And then what I'll do from here is in the jungle set, there's this really nice jungle flora right here. I'm just going to go ahead and take that and just put that all on top. Oopsie, my bad. On the FG layer. So that way I just have some jungle beneath me. Like that, nice and easy. And then from there, I'll go to a filter real quick. And then I'll go to blur. And then push that all the way down to the lowest layer. And now you have a nice blurred background. See how easy that was? Just make some land, throw down some kind of forest or jungle texture, and then now you have a nice background. And we got in our greens and our blues as well. Blue water, green trees work so well with the purple. Yeah, Tang Whistle, I absolutely love the rainbow. I love Fey stuff so much. And I think, and maybe it was you who had recommended it earlier to make more Fey stuff. I can't remember. Memory can be a little short sometimes. Okay, I think we've got that together. Now let's go ahead and start playing with that color scheme, right? So I should really probably take every single one of these corals right here. I'll select one and then just select all from the set. And then what I can do is go to color and I'll bump the saturation all the way up, and then I'll just choose a color that seems to work well, right? So I'll just go through. Oh, you know what? Green looks good. And so does that blue. Ooh, you know what? I think I like the blue. That looks super cool. So let's go with that blue color. Let's also change the color of the spikes. I think maybe they should be a different color. So select all from the set. And now we can go in here and change that color. Maybe we want them to be green looks good. Oh, I kind of like that. Let's see here. Blue also looks good, but I don't know. Let's see here. I'm going to maybe shoot for green. Let me see what I can come up with here. That green. Let me desaturate a little bit. You know what? I think I like it best blue. I think that's going to work well. I don't know. Let me just keep playing around with colors here. Oh, you know what? I do kind of like this kind of offset, kind of purplish kind of color. I think that looks good. Yeah, I think that looks good. I think I'm going to go with this. Where are we at for time? 42? Still lots and lots of time. Hey, Elatro, glad that you're here. First time chatter. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking it. I think it's fun. Yeah, I mean, a pink is part of red, which is a part of purple, so I think that looks good. I like that. I think, yeah, let me just take a look at it real quick. I think there's some things that need to be done. For instance, like, all the skull right here looks a little bizarre right here, like how the skull is right there. So maybe I should take one of these and just kind of place it like right there, right on top. Let me just take a step back and look at it. Yeah, there we go. That makes the head like there's just a tuft of hair on top of the head. That kind of brings that together. Some other things that might also work well here are we could change the color of the feathers so they're not all exactly the same color. So maybe if I just select a couple randos and just change the colors, I can kind of do that. So like maybe a green one. You know what? I think I like it better not doing that, actually. Yeah, I think this is okay. All right, let me just take a step back, look at it real quick. Yeah, looking good so far. Oh, you know what? Works really, really well. Light sources for eyes. And I do this for my monster tokens too. But right here are the eyes right here. So what we can do is go into the catalog, type in light, and then we'll choose the orange light to maximize the kind of like color we can get out of it. So, and I'll set it to normal so I can see it better. And I'll just place them both right there for now. And then I'll take a step back like this. And now I can kind of look at it. And then I can go and decide what color. And I think green is the way to go because I've been wanting to add green, but I haven't had the chance. So I think this will work well. We can bring the brightness up a little bit. And then we can take another green light and then switch over to overlay like this, and then put it right on top. And then that way we can get a little bit of the glow like that. Let's bring the opacity down. I don't want to lighten up too much of the background. I just want to lighten up the eyes a little bit. There we go. So now you have that. And you know what we can also do? I'll show you some other really cool stuff. Oh yeah, smoke coming out of the nostrils. Oh, I love that idea. That's great. Oh yeah, great. We could use a line for that. Let's just use this yellow one. We'll switch it over to white. We'll switch it over to make sure the blur is on. Let me just apply the line real quick to see what it looks like. Let's go to normal instead. And then we'll bring the opacity down. Bring the blur up even more. There we go. Oh, you know what? We could even have it be a different color. I'm not sure yet. Let's get to that in a second. There's some other things I want to show before I forget, because I will forget. Cool. I want to show a cool trick. So if you go, I want to show you how to make wind streaks to make it look like it's flying. Right now, it doesn't look like it's moving. It looks like it's stationary. How is it that I add these make these wind streaks? And then we'll add the smoke. Go to Shape Tool. Make sure Merge is off. Make sure Stroke is off. Go to Fill, Texture, go into the catalog, and then you're going to want to go down to Sci-Fi Battle Maps. Click it and let that open up real quick. And there is this nice bluish texture right here, Space Warp Distortion. This stuff is awesome. Take it right here like this, and what we'll do here is I'm going to make sure that it's on, let's put it to layer, I don't want it to blur, so let's put it on layer positive or -4. I'm going to go all the way across the screen, cover the whole thing. Now I'm going to go and make some adjustments. First, I want to rotate it to where it's 90 degrees. So we should be like that. That part's done. I think I have to rotate it just a little bit more. Let me take a look. That looks good. We're also going to desaturate the texture. And we're going to bring the brightness up. And then we're going to change the blend mode to lighten. And now you have these nice white streaks. But let's go ahead and change the scale so that we can kind of get some more of the streaks in here. There we go. That looks good. There you go. So cool little trick on how to make streaks. You can use lighten. I think there's some other ones. You can also use screen. I think overlay makes it a little bit darker. Hard light might work. You know, I think lighten is really the best choice because that way you won't lose too much of the information behind you. Let's also bring the opacity back up. There we go. And I think I have it set to blur. Ah, there we go. That was the problem. There we go. You know, actually, I kind of like a little bit of the blur. Let's just bring it down a little bit. There you go. So now you have a way of, yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me of, Belatro. Yeah, absolutely. I love me. I'm a big nostalgia freak. I love me my old JRPGs. So definitely very, very helpful. But yeah, playing around with stuff is really the best way to see what works. So I think overall, I like the creature. We still have time, so let's go ahead and add a couple things. Like someone had mentioned smoke coming out of the nostrils. You could do that. I am using let's bring the layer all the way up to +5. You could have it to where it's kind of going like across like this. I mean, if it's moving fast like that, then it's probably just going to go straight like this. If it's not moving very fast, then you could probably just have it kind of wither out like this and then go straight like that if you wanted to. You could do the same thing with the eyes, right? Maybe you wanted to do that same thing. You wanted to have like this, you know how you see like a car when it's driving and you can see a light trail from the rear lights? You could also do something similar to that with the eyes. Like maybe I wanted to have the glow go like this. Let me step back so I have a little bit more. Yeah, a light blur. Thank you. So something kind of like that. Or if you wanted it to have it be completely straight, then you can go like this, or have it follow some of the body. You could change the blend mode. So up to you, Cable Eye. Yeah, Cable Eye. I know what you're talking about there. X Factor. I like it. So a lot of different options there. But what I do want to do, though, is I do want to add some contrasting things to it, like a structure instead of something that's not organic. And so, you know, what works really, really well are summoning circles. And maybe we should put some kind of platform on the creature's back that your players can actually walk on top of. So if I just go ahead and place this summon circle right here, I'll bring it down a layer. Let me change the blend mode to luminosity, and that way I can kind of pick up the color that's underneath of it. Let me just bring the scale down like this. What about there? And then I'll bring the contrast down a little bit. And then now you have this summoning circle, and it's now a flat space that your players can probably now walk on top of. Or maybe it's where a final part of a ritual will take place, or maybe it's just a place where your players can have combat without having to worry about falling off a wing or something like that. A lot of different things that you can kind of do with that. You can even have multiple ones, like maybe you want to have like another summoning circle on the wing, like one like right here on the wing, and maybe you want to have another one over here like this. You can do that. That's up to you. 3 is always a good number. We can always bring the brightness up a little bit, have it match a little bit better. Bring the contrast up a little bit. There you go. So you can always have these 2 kind of like summoning circles. Maybe that's a part of the design. Yes, clouds. We're going to get to that too. Don't worry. Let's see here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and select. I'm going to go ahead and lock the wind streaks, and I'm going to go ahead and create group. We're going to call this Fey Colossus, or Flying Fey Colossus. We'll call it that. There's probably a lot more that we could probably add to it, but I think you guys are getting the idea on how to kind of put it together. So I'll go ahead and just get it to optimally where I want it to be placed. That looks good. And then just so I don't accidentally select that, I'll go ahead and just lock that. Oopsie, I grouped it, so I have to bring it up. There we go. And let's go ahead and lock it. There we go. And make sure that the Colossus is in between. Make sure it's not at the lowest layer and the highest layer, because to create the sense of depth, you want clouds to be above and below. Now, if you want to show that the bird is very high up, then you can put all the clouds below the creature. If you want to show that the creature is, a little bit lower, then you can have some clouds below and then a lot above. Just leave a little bit of an opening so that way it doesn't hide it, right? So let's go ahead into the catalog here, and we'll type in cloud. I don't really care much for these ones. I think what I'll do is I'll just go into Inkarnate, the tag, and then it will show me the clouds from all styles. Those ones are kind of small. I kind of like these ones right here. I like these a little bit better, personally, and I'll just desaturate them and bring the brightness up. That way they're white clouds. And the next step here is I would always bring the opacity down, because that way, when you're stacking the clouds, the more and more you stack them, the more and more it becomes difficult to see what's underneath them. So it's best to apply clouds at a very low opacity and then stack them together. That's my suggestion. So we said that we're going to have some clouds below and some on top. So we'll go layer -4, so that way it's beneath the creature like this. And then we'll put another one maybe over here like this, and then maybe one behind like that. Now I'll go all the way up to the highest layer. And then I'll go ahead and really put some thicker ones in. It's okay to even cover some of the wing, just not too much, right? It's okay to cover up some of the creature's body, just not too much. Because if you do that, then you can't really see, right? All right, then the next step is we're probably going to want to add in some filters, right? Right now we have a cacophony of colors, and so we'll maybe pick some filters that are going to help to bring out that Fey feeling. So red is a good color. Let me turn it off so you can kind of see. The red brings out some of the purples, helps with the blues, and it kind of makes the clouds have a little bit more of a reddish color, so it kind of blends in better. There's a couple other things we can do. We could add in a cool and warm filter to add in even more like cools and purples to it. So if I bring this all the way up, we can really, really get those purplish colors. That kind of causes things to kind of blend even more, right? That cold, warm, it starts to blend in. And then maybe we want to add a couple more things, like maybe we want to add in some snow, but it's not actually snow. It could just be particles that are in the sky. It could just be sparkles because you're high up. Whatever you want it to be, it just looks more interesting when you have a little bit of the snow. That way it kind of adds to, because right now between the clouds you have a lot of negative space and you don't want to fill it with something. You could always just throw in a little bit of snow to add a little bit more effects. And then there's a couple more filters that I might consider adding. One of them is the color adjustment filter. What's cool about this is I can now go ahead and just change. I can bring this bring the up to 100% here, and I can change my Fey creature to be whatever color that I really want it to be, right? Maybe I want it to be this kind of weird green or blue. Go back to that purple color. Maybe I want it to fit more in with that green. I could always bring it back down to like this percentage here, and then I can keep some of the original colors to it. So it's up to you how you want to go about doing it. But I usually always add that in there. I'll always add this filter. I can always bump the saturation to really, really, really get the color out. It's Fey, right? And I really want it to be extra saturated because of that Fey. I could bump the contrast up, or I can bump the contrast down. I have those options. If it's feeling a little too dark, I can bump the brightness up. Maybe I'm higher up, closer to the sun, bump the brightness up. Maybe I'm underneath a cloud, bump the brightness down, right? So lots of different things that you can kind of do to make your creature, right? So a lot of cool little things there. Where are we at for time? I think we're almost done. Yes, we are actually. That is it. Oh, one more thing, actually. There is one more thing. One thing I love to do is to use these Fey lights. One second here. Sorry about that. One more thing. These right here. I love these Fey lights. They're super awesome. Very, very helpful. I'll just place one like that. Get that green out. And then this way I can kind of get some kind of effects with the eyes a little bit. There we go. That looks a little better. Like that. And if you do want to throw in more like streaks, like wind streaks, you could always put them on the wingspan by doing this. Let's go like this. Apply, add one. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's also bring the opacity up. There we go. And then I can just, what I'll do is I'll make a really long one. And then no matter where I place it, it'll always, it won't get cut off. So I'll put in a couple. So one here. Oh, you know, right on the end of the wingspan might be a good idea, like that. One there, that looks good. Let's put one here, maybe one on this wingspan right here. Let's put one right here. And then let's put another one right, let's say right about there. There we go. Okay. That will give it that extra sense of like it's soaring there. There we go. All right. And if you guys do like this map, you do like this, I'll go ahead and transfer it over to my Mati account, and then that way you guys can clone and edit it, okay? But anyway, hope you guys get the concepts. Just a quick review. Start with the silhouette first, because remember, coming up with a concept can be nerve-wracking, and it can just stifle the creative process. So the beginning part, getting started, always the hardest part. Start with a silhouette. That way, you don't have to worry about depth, color palette. Don't have to worry about material of the body. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You're just coming up with the concept. Once the silhouette is done, you could make your decisions whether or not how much more you want to add on top of that silhouette, or just keep the silhouette and add some bare bones to it. That's entirely up to you. All right, so we're almost to the end of the month. Just one more stream, and then we'll be going into next month. We'll make sure to add in the new stream calendar and the weekly map prompts. And then I think, by the way, we're going to do Maptober this year, which I'm super excited about. So looking forward to that in the next couple of months here. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please stay safe and healthy, and merry map making. See you, everyone. Take it easy. Bye.